Just thinking about recording. There we go. Wonderful. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. We got a small crowd here, but that's all right. We'll get going. At least you guys will have the answers to the quiz, right? As we go through this. So welcome to lesson 2 on corrections, introduction to corrections. So just so you know, this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes. As we're going along in the lesson, make sure we're following along with the Nearpod lesson. Use the chat tools respectfully and appropriately, and also respond to questions and instructions the first time. Okay, so with all of these things that we're talking about, it's very deeply rooted in the law, and the law is deeply rooted in the Constitution and what we call the Bill of Rights. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Bill of Rights, and then there's some certain amendments in the Bill of Rights that we need to really consider, especially in law enforcement. And that's why we're going over all those today. So your objective today is, given a quiz in the OLS, you'll accurately answer multiple choice questions about the Bill of Rights across one trial. Okay, so the Bill of Rights of citizens of the United States. So you have to be a citizen in order to be able to take advantage of these, or be in the United States at the time. Where do they come from? This unit will talk about how they came from them. We're going to talk about the right to free speech, free press, and privacy. You'll also learn about the historical and practical application of these rights as they're related to the law enforcement and corrections. Okay, so to give us some background knowledge, what we're going to do is we're going to watch this video real quick, and then that will give us some background of where to go from there.
The first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, also known as the Bill of Rights, were ratified or passed over 200 years ago. But even though they're a bit, old, these first 10 amendments are still the most debated and discussed section of our Constitution today. So can you remember what they are? Let's take a look. The First Amendment is the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. This may be the most revered of the amendments. The First Amendment protects our rights to say and write our opinions, worship how we please, assemble together peacefully, and petition our government if we feel the need. The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. The original intent of the Second Amendment was to protect colonists from the invading British soldiers, but it now guarantees that you have the right to own a gun to defend yourself and your property. The Third Amendment is called the Quartering Amendment. It was written in response to the British occupation and as a result of the colonists having to house or quarter soldiers in their homes during the American Revolution. Because of this amendment, our government can never force us to house soldiers in our home. The Fourth Amendment is the right to search and seizure. The police can't come into our home without a search warrant and take our personal property. Today, many concerns have arisen about our rights to privacy and technology. For example, can the government track your location with your smartphone, or can social media postings such as on Facebook and Twitter be used without a warrant? On to the fifth. It's all about due process. You've probably heard the phrase, "I plead the fifth," in movies or on TV. They're talking about the Fifth Amendment, which says that you don't have to take the witness stand against yourself if you may end up incriminating yourself. Okay, we're halfway done. The Sixth and Seventh Amendments are about how the legal system works. If you're accused of a crime, you have the right to a speedy public trial and an impartial jury. You also have the right to a lawyer and the right to take the stand if you choose. This is important because it will prevent the accused from sitting in prison forever and insists that the prosecution proceed with undue delay. The Seventh says you have the right to a jury trial where 12 impartial peers decide your innocence or guilt in the courtroom, as opposed to a judge doing it all alone. The Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Is a death penalty cruel? Is it unusual? It's hard for Americans to agree on the definitions of cruel and unusual. The Ninth and Tenth Amendments are called the non rights amendments. They say that the rights not listed in the Bill of Rights are retained by the people in the states. You have other rights that are not listed in the Constitution, and the states have the right to make their own policies, like instituting state taxes. So now you know all 10 amendments. Can you remember them all? If not, remember this. The Bill of Rights are a crucial piece of American history, and though society has undergone many changes these past 200 and some years, the interpretation and application of these amendments are as vital today as they were when they were written.
All right, so that gives us some basically our freedom, right, to be able to kind of do things. So here is like a scenario that we'll kind of give, and I'll have you guys speak your mind about it a little bit. So I'm just going to read the scenario. Justin, a high school sophomore, believes strongly in the freedom of expressing himself, both at school and in the area in his life, in other areas of life, I think. In order to spread the benefit, his beliefs with his school, he created a small publication which he printed on his own computer and posted on his own website and passed around to the students in his high school. He also kept several copies in his backpack and his locker. School officials, the principal, superintendent, and school board felt Justin's publication distracted from the students in their school day. They searched Justin's locker and backpack and seized the publications. The principal suspended him for 3 days and threatened expulsion if he continued to pass the publication out to people at school. They said it was interfering the school's order. Justin, along with his friends, family, and most of his teachers, felt differently. Justin had a decision to make. He could continue to operate his publication and website, keeping the hard copy out of the school, or he could protest, stating that his constitutional rights had been violated under the First Amendment. Okay? All right, so I know we're a small group here, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think? Do you think Justin is right to be able to pass out his kind of things in school? Do you agree with the administration saying that it's prohibited from learning and disrupts order, right, in the school? What are you guys' thoughts? Right, you can either do that in chat or here on the board, because there's a lot of that out there right now, right? Debate going on. What are your thoughts? Don't know. I think I would agree with the administration just because I'm sure it would distract students, and all they want to keep the school is in check and in focus. All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm not saying you're wrong or right here, but do you think that maybe the administration has the right to take away your phones then if those distract and cause disorder? Because I guess they could access it on their phone too, huh? What are your thoughts about that? I think it would work as long as if he does it like outside of the school grounds, I guess. Yeah. So I guess if he passed him outside of school grounds and something like that, right? And if the other kids brought it into school, is that really his fault? No, there's a lot of things to consider here, right? Like, um, just because we post something, should we be able to post something like on social media, right? Is that freedom of speech, or because so many people dislike it, they're unable to do it? There's a lot of things that go and are debated against like the First Amendment. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the discussion there. So we already kind of talked about that. The U.S. Bill of Rights, it's a piece of paper written over 200 years ago and has the power to affect your everyday life. The U.S. Bill of Rights grants certain privileges to U.S. citizens, but who qualifies as a citizen under the 14th Amendment is the following. Okay. And so that's kind of debated on too, the process of naturalization. Okay, let's talk about the Fifth Amendment real quick. So the Fifth Amendment gives you, the biggest thing in there is about due process. Basically, that you have the right to be able to um, appeal, to be able to have things come before like a judge or something like that. Oh, so when you express yourself, sometimes there's consequences. Is that what you're saying, Dominic? Yeah, it's too bad. But I think you should express yourself, right? You know, find somebody else that agrees with you too. We all find our little tribes that we agree with. The other ones is you can't self-incriminate yourself in the Fifth. That means when you said you plead the Fifth, that basically means that oh yeah, okay. If they didn't find, sorry, I was looking at the chat. Plead the Fifth, so you can't self-incriminate yourself. So that basically means that if I do not have to testify in my own trial. I don't have to do things that may look bad and then just say I plead the Fifth, right? Also, double jeopardy. Double jeopardy basically means that you cannot be convicted of the same exact crime more than once, right? So if you were to murder somebody and you were convicted and you served your time, you can't be convicted of it again. So another one is the Sixth Amendment. Okay. The Sixth Amendment means that we cannot hold people for extreme time without representation, without being heard, and you get a speedy kind of a trial, a prompt trial. One of the things, Guantanamo Bay, which is a place in Cuba, is where we've held like terrorists for a long time without giving them those rights. Now that's been debated whether we can do that because are they a actual U.S. citizen or not? Here and that. So I don't know. Another debated topic. The other one's the Eighth Amendment. In the past, people were kept in jail for long periods of time because they couldn't pay the fines. So basically, we're not going to punish people for that, and then we'll actually give them the right to like an attorney. The Ninth Amendment is a very interesting one. It talks about um, basically the rights not listed in the Constitution all go back to the people, meaning that the government doesn't have those rights, but it's not expressively writ. So this one's kind of almost like a joke, right? You know, it's like, well, the government saying that, well, it's based in my Ninth Amendment rights, right? So it's kind of a blanket thing that they try to cover, but it really doesn't hold too much water or anything like that. Um, Censorship. Okay, let's talk about censorship and the press. So there's a lot of censorship that goes on out there, especially right now. Uh, so one of the things is they want, so the press is basically the media or people like even like YouTube or anything like that being able to express themselves and not being censored for what they're doing because people don't like what they're saying. Okay, so this just says nothing is more important to America than the rights of what they think, say, and think, be it words, songs, or in writing. To have a sanctioned place for those to express is known as censorship. No group of people in the United States resists censorship more than media and the press. The First Amendment guarantees the right of free press and members of the press to not be restricted in their attempts to control and other people attempts to control the press. In today's society, the terms press and media have become more like publishing on the internet, also includes blogs and other things like that, and their freedom to do things. So, also like posts on social media, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes the social media company has been censoring people. So, that's something that's a topic that's gone on. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go over these questions real quick, and believe it or not, they're the same questions that are on your quiz that you have to take today. So let's go over all these, and this will help you out quite a bit. Okay, so imagine you're in a large company that large company wanted to prohibit any of its workers from belonging to a union and forced its employees to sign the oaths that they would support anti-union political groups. What amendment does that violate? Okay. Um, so one thing you'll notice you'll have in your course is you have a list of the Bill of Rights, and you can kind of read through those so you can kind of know that. But that would be the first. One complaint of political prisoners held in places like Guantanamo Bay, right, or indefinitely without trial, is that they're constitutional grounds. And so basically, remember that one. That one was the 6th. Talked about that one, Guantanamo Bay. Imagine that the president of the church, a president of the United States, wants to declare Christianity as the country's national religion, much like an Anglo-American church officials in the religion of England. What amendment prohibits that? Okay, that would be your First Amendment rights, freedom of religion, press, speech. Okay, next one. Amendment offers protections against being tried more than once for a charge. We talked about that. That is the Fifth Amendment. Remember, double jeopardy. Okay. Implies that rights can become enumerated rights depending on the Supreme Court decisions. That is true. Okay. What might the Constitution probable cause under the Fourth Amendment? Okay. So probable cause. So one of the things, so the Fourth Amendment talks about not being able to search somebody's place unless there is probable cause, right? And so probable cause talks about evidence. So they cannot get in there and go there unless they have probable cause or evidence of a crime has been committed. And that's in basically plain sight in order to search things. So, for example, you get pulled over and the police officer is asked to search your car, and you say no, show me a warrant. They can search it still if you had like something illegal, like in the back seat or something like that. So, you may need to just know your rights. Imagine that a president decides to officially adopt a specific news channel as the official news outlet of the government. What amendment would this violate? That would be your First Amendment rights, freedom of press, speech. What entity would be considered to be part of today's free press? Would Amazon, Instagram, Walmart, or Nike Athletics? Okay, let me think. Put in the chat what you think that one is. Part of free speech. Remember, we talked about that before. Okay, somebody thinks Instagram. What do you guys think? Okay, it is Instagram, guys. Very good. Okay, how many amendments make up the Bill of Rights? Okay, we said that in the video, right? We talked about majority of them. Okay, warrants are necessary for police largely because of the constitutional amendment of, that one would be same with probable cause, that kind of things, okay? All right. So that would be your quiz, everything you need to do. Please let me know if you have any other questions or concerns, anything like that. So I'll stick around if you guys have any questions. But if not, you guys can take off. I appreciate it.